He is going to speak today about how do we as Toastmasters promote our clubs in these difficult times. So let us all welcome Graham.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here under false pretenses. I'm actually not going to be giving you a training presentation on how we as Toastmasters promote our clubs in these difficult times. I'm here instead as a facilitator to ask you that question. I've got some ideas and I'll run through a couple of those, but really what I want is your ideas on how best we can promote our individual clubs as well as Toastmasters in general during this time of the coronavirus. To do that, I'm going to need a scribe. Would somebody like to be my scribe for today? That is, somebody take down notes. You can either, yes, Carol, you're excellent at doing this, so if you can do this, this would be great. Feel free to use whatever tools you think would work best for you. It might be the chat box, it might be using the share screen and the whiteboard. The choice is entirely yours, but if you can be our scribe. So, ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters clubs are facing a crisis. But of course, Toastmasters clubs face a crisis all the time. Can anyone give me an indication of how long the average member of Toastmasters stays in the organization? Anyone know the average? Brian, you're going to need to unmute yourselves, folks.
Yeah, I believe it's less than, or just a little bit over 6 months and less than a year.
That's one answer. Anybody else got anything else they know?
6 months.
Liang wanted to answer. Liang, she raised her hand. She says 2. What is 2? 2 years?
2 years?
2 years.
No.
In Poland, it's less than 1 year. The problem is also that only 2% comes to CC level.
Yep.
And that is a big problem.
Here's something you may not be aware. In a district, sorry, in a region, which I shan't name, but since I'm a member of Region 12, you can probably guess that the reason I know these figures might be related. Just under 50% of all Toastmasters never renew. Think about that for a moment. They join and they never renew. That is, they are a member for 6 months or less. In some cases, they're only a member for a month. They join and they never renew. So Toastmasters is always facing a crisis. We have an enormous amount of churn. That's the term which is used in marketing for having to go and get new people in just to replace the ones that we're losing. We all know the 80-20 rule. That is that we spend 80% of our time dealing with 20% of people who are usually the noisy wheels. But the thing is, we also spend 80% of our time trying to attract new members, whereas if we worked with those that stayed with us, perhaps it would be more effective. So Toastmasters has always faced a crisis. But right now, the crisis has become existential. You see, why did you join Toastmasters? I'm going to ask a question. Show of hands. Who wants to stick up a hand and say why you joined Toastmasters? Whether you're a newish member or been around. Bishek?
Yes, it was 6 years ago, and it was by coincidence because I found David, the champion of the world in public speaking, 2012. And I found very nice people. They said, come on, you will visit some very nice place. And it was this. It helps me to be a good trainer, good speaker. And I found a lot of people like Mufti in Riyadh and other people.
Cool. So you joined to learn to speak and you joined to learn to train. Who else would like to stick up their hand and say why they joined Toastmasters? Asil.
In 2011, I joined Toastmasters clubs, but the reason was that I used to work as a training specialist, and having presentation skills was mandatory. So I attended the webinar, and there I learned about Toastmasters. That was the reason I joined Toastmasters Club.
Liang, you're a relatively new member of Toastmasters, I believe. Can I ask, why did you join?
Initially, I just want to polish my English language and then be able to speak in front of a lot of people in English, which is not my native language. And then I went to one of the club meetings, and then I met a very nice lady I can call as my role model. So that's the point. That's the moment I want to join straight away.
Excellent. So you had a role model who hopefully became a mentor. Great. Liz.
Can I say something about Liang? She was, I think, hosting the contest. It was a really big contest, and she did a really good job. I can't say that she just joined, and your English is great, and you should know that.
Cool. Thanks for that. Les, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've just come on board, and I'm excited to learn a bit more. And thanks to Michelle for the invitation. I've been a Toastmaster for 23 years, and this online series of online meetings is great to be able to catch up with people, not just locally, but right around the world.
Globally. Cool. All right. So I think it's fair to say that most people, when they join Toastmasters, they join because they want to learn how to speak in front of groups of people, and they want to learn how to communicate. They want to learn how to train. They want to learn how to be able to present. Does that, show of hands, anybody think that's not why they joined? They joined because they wanted to meet a boyfriend? No, I've actually seen that happen. And I've actually seen that happen, and it's worked, but that's not the point. The thing is that while we are now in this environment that is only meeting online, can we still meet that objective? Yes? Show of hands who thinks that Toastmasters can still fulfill its core function of teaching people how to be better speakers and communicators. If you don't think so, why not? I genuinely believe that we are at a crossroads here, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe it is a crossroads that we can take advantage of. Every one of us, over the next few months at least, is going to be in the situation where our interaction with our colleagues, our interaction with our clients, our interaction with our bosses is going to be via this little screen. Now, those of you who have not had much experience with online meetings, have you found it more or less difficult to deal with clients and colleagues and bosses using the screen? Can I ask anybody here who hasn't had a lot of experience online to raise a hand, and we'll ask you? Or is everybody here quite, Mufid, you haven't had a lot of experience online. Have you found it more or less challenging?
In fact, it was very much challenging. Brief. I did not have an experience before, but I think it was challenging.
Yep, so challenging. And yet you joined an online club. Why did you join an online club?
Exactly, because I believed it was a challenge. I wanted to meet that challenge, that's all.
Exactly.
And I found it good.
So what we need to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, is going out and finding those people who are finding this new world a challenge and saying to them, yeah, we know it's hard. Yeah, we know that you don't know how to appear effectively on screen. Yeah, we know it's difficult for you to get your point of view across to your colleagues in this sort of environment. We've all played meeting bingo where, you know, you cross off when somebody, but the thing is, it's difficult, but it is a learnable skill. And we, as Toastmasters, can teach you that skill. There are online clubs like Global Trainers Online, like Online Presenters, whose sole function is to teach how to use the online environment. There are other clubs which have specialty roles, but then there are lots of community clubs as well. And almost every Toastmasters club which is still currently meeting is meeting online, and they're learning skills which they can then pass on. We'll get to how we do that as a club in a moment, but AU, you had a question you wish to raise. You had your hand up at one stage, yes?
Oh no, so I was just doing this for my classes, sorry.
Cool, that's all right, no worries, no worries. Okay, so how can we as Toastmasters clubs promote what we do? Do we promote, we will teach you how to speak in public? Or do we promote, we will teach you how to communicate effectively? All too often, yes,
Both.
Liz.
Yeah, I feel that we need to find out the benefits and give them the values, and that gives them a basis on how Toastmasters can help them.
Cool. We need to be broadcasting on WII-FM. What's in it for me? We need to find out what it is that our potential members can gain from Toastmasters. And we need to get out there and not hide under a bushel. Rizan, we haven't heard from you. What do you think would be a good strategy for telling people about how to use Toastmasters and learn these skills? What can you think of something that we might do?
Thank you very much. And I felt now this current situation also, we are learning something from the virtual. And this is the Toastmasters learn. I joined the Toastmasters really because of my child. I wanted to bring my child as a better communicator and better leader in the world. Then I found this is the best forum and to introduce him. Then I went to search a Toastmasters club to introduce him. Then say he's a young and we can introduce him to the Gavel Club. But better, you should learn how to communicate and leadership role to teach your child. And this is the forum. Then I joined the Toastmasters in 2007.
Cool, thanks for that. We haven't looked at the use of Gavel clubs as a promotional tool because Gavel clubs aren't really, strictly speaking, supposed to be a promotion for Toastmasters. Speechcraft promotes Toastmasters. Gavel clubs are our community service. But have we looked at how we can use online training for Gavel clubs? I know that, Carol, you're particularly interested in things like Gavel clubs and training of Air Force cadets, for example. Can you see a way that we could use our current strategies or our things like Zoom to promote communication amongst young people?
Absolutely. They leap at the chance. And some of our Air Force cadets that were with me in a Speechcraft program had no troubles at all with any of the online tools that they were to use. At that point, it was all face-to-face. But now there are several of my colleagues in different parts of our district looking at how to put Speechcraft opportunities online as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. George, you were a late arrival to the meeting, but I'd like to welcome you, by the way, and say thank you for coming along here. Can you see a way that we can help promote Toastmasters and more particularly individual Toastmasters clubs in this environment? I'm not sure whether your microphone's working, George. We did see you before, but your mic may not be working. I'll ask that same question to Eva. Eva, can you see a way that we can promote individual Toastmasters clubs as well as Toastmasters as a whole using what we are learning here today, for example?
Yes, I think so, because all clubs need the new tools right now. If they meet online, they need these new tools. So, for example, my club, we are always seeking for new opportunities and how to do the things better.
Cool. Thanks for that. So, George, welcome along, by the way. And have you had any chance to think about how we can promote Toastmasters using online meetings like this?
Yes, thank you very much, Graham. And it's good to be here. I definitely think that there's an opportunity to promote Toastmasters in this period with the opportunity that people can learn to be more effective communicating with, through virtual means, through the internet, or through like what we're doing now, which before now wasn't really common. A lot of the communication was physical or in person. So I think we can make that more prominent, make people see the need, because a lot of people are working from home and it's a new experience. So we could tap into that and let them see that there's a place, Toastmasters, where they can sharpen those skills and then be more effective at work.
Thank you, George. That's terrific. Thank you very much for your contribution. And you're right.
May I?
Yes, very briefly.
Very briefly. We just created a new club, which is we call Virtuous. Means it's a very high-ranking education level Toastmasters over ACB, over ACL, and in the real world we have no chance to meet each other. And we group all over Polish Toastmasters, which are high-ranking, and now we have a meetings. So level of the club is very, very high. And in the real world, so how we are using.
Cool. That's an example of how to do
situation.
Well done. Thank you for that. Now, Club Coach Richard, I'm going to ask now, we're going to get to where the rubber meets the road. Can you come up with a suggestion, something specific about how a club can promote to potential new members rather than just to other Toastmasters to come along to our online meetings? Can you think of something specific?
Yes, I can. And what I was thinking about is watching you present and how you have your virtual background being Toastmasters. So when we are leading by example and demonstrating our public speaking ability in other Zoom meetings with the banner behind us, people might ask us how we do so well, and we just point over our shoulder and say, talk to me afterwards about joining Toastmasters.
Thanks. Yep. So use Toastmasters and leverage our skills the same way that we would wear pins that say, the Toastmasters badge that we wear. All right. I like that. Thanks for that. Let me see. Richard, you don't get to escape. Can you think of something specific that a club could do to promote, not to other members, because there's a certain amount of inviting Toastmasters from other clubs to come to our meetings, but what can a club do to attract potential new members in this current environment?
Well, thank you for asking, Graham. And I would never have expected to have got away from a meeting without having at least some question asked of me. I think there's several opportunities, actually. Social media right now is the big buzz. And how you use social media to help promote your club or any club right now, I think, is the key. We know a lot of clubs are using Facebook as a promoter. Some clubs are using LinkedIn, which is a great way to promote to a more professional group as opposed to Facebook is. In the United States, a lot of our clubs use Meetup as a way to meet people who are looking for very similar types of training and interests. I think this is the opportunity for our organization to be a slight market disruptor, if you will, in being able to be the leaders in online communication and training right at the moment, because that's our specialty, and how we use the current situation and the tools that we have to help push a little bit farther than our boundaries right now. So I think those are some specific ways that clubs can look at reaching out to new members and marketing themselves. But they also have to be smart about it. And you can't have old photos of the club with people who aren't involved there. If you're going to use social media, every member of your club has to either be liking your page or be a member of that social media circle that you're using. Because if you're the only person there, if I'm the only person from my club who has liked or connected on Meetup, what's that say to the people around us? So there's that perception that has to be looked at as well in how you're promoting yourself.
Excellent.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for that. Look, I see the red light is on, and I do note by the agenda that we are actually running over time at this point. So in the chat box, I have just put my Gmail account, the grahamcairns.tm toastmasters@gmail.com. That's my Toastmasters account. I would ask everyone to please come up with, even if it's only one single concrete suggestion that you can make to help a club promote itself to the wider world in these current times. If you can send that to me, then I will send a collated version of that to everybody here today, and in fact to everybody I can think of, because that's how Toastmasters works. And that, Madam Toastmaster, is my training module for today.